Hello everyone, my name is Smruti and I'm from Supreme Creations, the home of Bags of Ethics. It gives me great pleasure in introducing a very old friend of mine, Josef, who I've known for many, many years as a senior events and creative professional. Josef, thank you so much for agreeing to be with us today. Can you tell me a little bit about your incredible background and some of the brands that you've worked with?
Of course, thank you so much for this lovely introduction. So my name is Josef. I'm an event producer and lecturer. I've worked in the luxury brand events industry, fashion industry for about 20 years now. So really where Smruti and I met is at the British Fashion Council, where I was head of events for 4 years. And I was in charge of running London Fashion Week, the Fashion Awards, London Fashion Weekend, as it was known at the time. I then moved on to become a freelance consultant. And I've worked with Cartier since then. I've worked with Chanel. I've worked with Google, done events for the Serpentine Galleries. I've done actually many events over the past few years with Annabels, the private members club in Mayfair. And also, most recently, I've been lecturing in all things event management.
The London College of Fashion, and also
London College of Fashion, indeed, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. So, as our audience can see, you've got such an incredible roster of experience, and it's just such a privilege to talk to you today about, you know, our work together was around how we could help take, you know, branding, which was digital and sort of more signage around London Fashion Week and London Fashion Weekend and the Fashion Awards, and bring it to a sort of very basic but quite impactful product. And I think we were doing some tote bags as well as some other gifting with you. What I'd love for you to tell me, Josef, is how, as an events professional, you normally work with a creative brief that you get from your marketing department and then transition that as part of the creative process on merchandise, collateral, to bring the event to life. So I've actually got some of the tote bags that we did historically. So this was one of my favorites, actually, the sort of chevron print. The chevron print, Nicholas Kirkwood, with the raised print. And it was just such an incredible print.
Such good quality as well. I think it's the design was very striking, or is very striking.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really lasted as well. And actually this was translated from design that was on the then, you know, we were building this tent structure in Somerset House. So actually this was a sort of a wraparound of the tent, as well as it was translated onto invitations into the show space. So this was sort of an extension of the creative. And I think this is a really good example of, you know, because there was really 3 of us in this kind of, you know, in this process. There was obviously you guys, there was us, you know, as the sort of the client. And then we also had the designer coming up with the designs, which we then had to, in a way, translate into marketing materials and merchandise. So really, you know, we all kind of did this hand in hand, and it was a really great collaboration between everyone. And sort of, you know, we looked at various different fabrics, and, you know, you sort of talked about the raised print, and obviously we looked at, you know, a range of samples. You know, I always you know, sort of think of, you know, when we put these bags together, it was well, first and foremost, it was about the design, and it was the quality of the materials, so the quality of the cotton. So we look at a range of different materials, but then also we look at the handle size. You know, do you carry it like this? Do you carry it in your hand? How, you know, how long is the handle, for example? Also, how wide is the bottom part? You know, how much can you put into the bag? So all of those different things are consideration, but also, you know, things like colorways, logos. You know, it's obviously about the design, it's about the positioning. But also, I think this wasn't just a sort of a corporate gift. You know, it was given to a very fashion conscious audience. And so these are still highly coveted items. And, you know, we talk in fashion, we're talking seasons. So they go back many, many seasons. And I think it's really interesting to see, you know, how many are still around. You know, I could be on a bus somewhere randomly, and, you know, a person is carrying, you know, a bag from spring, summer 2014. And I look at them like, yeah, that's one of mine.
It's so exciting, isn't it? And how you describe the process is beautiful, because it is a very creative, collaborative process. You have to respect the designer. Nicholas Kirkwood is renowned for the chevron print, but then you have, your corporate sponsors such as Vodafone and Samsung here. And, how do you incorporate everyone's branding without making it so loud and busy? But also, these bags are spotted, people are packed with them, love to show that they've been to London Fashion Week by carrying a tote. We always called it the walking billboard. And you would see people going from show to show, but this was the kind of signature that was moving with your guests. So it is an incredibly collaborative process. It's always challenging. It's always very time sensitive.
Point of difference between the seasons, because this is it's very monochrome, it's a very striking print, but we've done multiple colorways, which there were always challenges around, well, how many colors can we use, how many colors can we afford, what looks good, and also how does this sit with our sponsor colors. So there is a very kind of strong design element within this, but also there are challenges around, how big is the sponsor logo? Is it the top of the bag? Is it at the bottom? Is it on the inside? All of those different things. So, it is about creating a beautiful product, but also, it serves multiple purposes, and there are various different stakeholders involved in this, and everybody needs to be kept happy. And I think that's a process that we had to manage. We have to keep the designer happy. We have to keep the corporate partners happy. We had to make sure we create a really beautiful product that, that sits well alongside all the other bags that we've created. So it's sort of continuation of that journey, really.
Yeah, and as a creative production house and as our kind of manufacturing supply chain, we would give you our constraints, hopefully not too many constraints. And, you have to hit the right price, you have to hit the right timing, you have to hit the right materials. And obviously sustainability is such an important part of our business, and the bags of ethics values of people, planet, and product. And I think what was wonderful was that all of the elements had to come together, but still look outstanding, not some sort of hippy dippy product. It really had to be fashionable.
Absolutely. And I think, this is the word parameters, I think within this is very important. And what I learned very quickly is that it's really good to give creative people and give designers parameters, and they really like it. Because if you can tell them, these are the dimensions of the bags, this is what a handle is, and but also give them the options of, for example, this same bag could have been done in white stitching, but in places. So, or is there a contrasting color? Could we have a blue stitch or a red stitch? Because we were working with Vodafone at the time. So all of these little things, they're all sort of subtle differences that could hopefully help us to hit some of those markers with the brands, and maybe create a point of difference, and also just create it always comes back to creating a really beautiful item.
I agree and talking of which, I've got two more that I'd love to show everyone.
Going back in time.
It is like going back, and this is the sort of like going through the archives. I feel like I'm at the V&A Museum with my archives.
Are you going to test me on season and designer?
No. So, well, this was an incredible project actually when Sunglass Hut became the principal sponsor, and Gareth Pugh was tasked with creating all of the collateral. And this is actually, the brief was around punk and Britain and feeling proud to be punk and British, And so this is actually Gareth's face that he then did a self-paint and then translated that into an artwork. So this is the back of his face.
Yes.
And this is the front.
Amazing.
It was amazing. And then we had an internal pocket, I remember, because the sponsor was Sunglass Hut.
Sunglass pocket. I remember that.
A little sunglass pocket, yeah. It was a sort of a little pocket. And I'll give you some interesting stats, actually. So this product was a sort of gift with purchase for Sunglass Hut, as well as a product given away at London Fashion Week. And the uptick in terms of footfall into their stores, just because of this one bag, it's quite incredible. There's an uptick of 10% of footfall, which is in marketing numbers, absolutely bonkers, really. So this was one of my favorite projects, and we did a luxury version of this in a vegan leather for all of the VIP clients who came in. And then as you talk further, this is, I think, I'm not sure if you were still at the BFC then, but this was for Mother of Pearl. Absolutely stunning print. And Amy from Mother of Pearl said, look, can we like improve, can we just change the handle to be quite sporty? So you have this beautiful sort of feminine floral print, and then you have these incredibly fun kind of sports straps. And that's when we started to put the Bags of Ethics label on the outside, because sustainability became such an important part of the messaging.
Is it the same print on both sides?
It was not the same print on both sides, no.
Fashion Week Festival, okay.
And what was interesting is that actually, so this looks like it's a black bag.
Yes,
but
it does.
It's actually a white bag.
Oh.
Printed all over. So there's a lot of ink on this. So really,
also, you know, some of that's kind of part of the design process is, you know, do you use a white base material, or do we use a black material? And then, you know, you have this sort of slightly raised print, which, I mean, I'm sure I'm not using the right
no, you are.
This, but it feels slightly leathery when you touch it. It has this kind of sort of slightly, you know, this textured effect, which I think is really beautiful.
Yeah. And actually, when you're working in an industry where, you know, the devil really is in the detail, and a creative professional will look at every single element. So, you know, you are exposed if your product is not fit for purpose. You know, it comes down to not just do the handles fulfill the strength that they need to carry around this product. It's, you know, what's the detail in the stitching, the print, is the ink going to rub off? You know, and so all of these elements from a production point of view have to be really on point, because we, I think, know that our audience is a really premium audience, is a really sort of specialized in understanding really high quality detail. So I'd love to know, when you work and choose with, you know, being in events, you have to work with a variety of partners. What are the sort of characteristics that you look for in a supplier or a partner?
I think mutual trust is extremely important to me, and, you know, I say mutual trust because it sort of goes both ways. I think it's you know, we all have to look after our suppliers, because we're only really as good as our suppliers that we work with and that we surround ourselves with to execute, you know, our ideas and, you know, to fulfill the brief. I think it's important to work with people who sort of share the same, you know, values in terms of attention to detail. You know, you want people who, you know, they offer competitive prices. The other thing that is becoming more and more important, I'd like to say, you know, it's the most important thing, but it's sustainability, which I know is core of your business, is to be sustainable. And the events industry historically has been an extremely wasteful industry, you know, and so I think there is much more of a focus of, you know, how can we be more sustainable, creating sustainable products. You know, coming back to the bags, is creating something that is sustainable and also that lasts. Long lasting, I think, is important. And also I think that's why we still see bags from, you know, from 2012, 2013, still, you know, all around London, because, you know, they last, which I think is important. And you talk about the handle strength, but it is, you know, things like that are really important, because you can also then, you know, you can wash them, some of them, and I think it's important.
Yeah, and I think what's very interesting as a supplier, when we're competing against other manufacturers or companies, is that we are very passionate about, you know, we're geeky about the detail, we're geeky about the fabric weaves, we're geeky about the prints and the ink types, and sometimes it's very difficult to translate that, you know, in a basic quotation. But actually, it's so important. And if, you know, we've worked with clients like Dior and LVMH and obviously London Fashion Week, and you just can't slip up on those details.
You can't. And also, I think it's important. People want to know, well, where was this bag produced? You know, you're so descriptive and you're so vocal, you know, about the people, you know, your suppliers, that you then work with, in turn, and, to actually produce these bags. And also I've always found that with you guys, it's the speed of delivery. Not just, I think the team is highly responsive, but also, in that sort of, in terms of day-to-day communication, but also, your timelines in terms of producing things, because, we talk about this creative process as if it was a linear process, and it isn't, and it never is. There is, Supreme Creations, there was British Fashion Council, there was a designer to try and, make this happen, but this is not a sort of a linear, straightforward process. There's a lot of back and forth. And then, we would then also have to, bring in the partners, and there's various different levels of sign-offs, and, there are personal preferences and different objectives to be hit. So it's a sort of, it can turn into a slightly complicated process, but also, having someone like Supreme Creations has always been amazing, because you guys are very flexible, and also, you deliver on time, and it's sometimes been a little bit close to the wire in getting the bags to fulfillment, because the bags didn't just need to be printed and delivered, they in at certain times also packed. Exactly. So because you were holding up one of the London Fashion Weekend bags, or London Fashion Week Festival bags, those then had to be filled with product. And we're not just talking about, a few dozen bags, we're talking about thousands of bags. So, this is a really big process. And so, timing, I think, is really important. And I think maybe we'll add that on to the attributes of a supplier is time management. Just sort of the trust that you will deliver when you say you'll deliver.
I think, as an events professional, you really are a master of operations at a strategic level, and then operations at a very, very basic level, which is so important. How are you going to pack a lipstick into a bag which is given by a sponsor who wants to promote it in a particular way? You'll do a time study about how long does this take to sort of put in the bag, what's the extra packaging. And I think that's why having you on here is very helpful for our audience, because events is very, very difficult, and based on timing, based on pricing, based on all the details. So if you were to give, say, 3 top tips to anyone who's hosting an event or who wants to enter the events industry as a profession, what would you suggest are sort of good sort of checklists or qualities to have?
Well, I'm going to pick up on what you just said in terms of, timing, money, that sort of thing. So I think, you need 3 things for a really good event. One of which is you need a great idea, you need plenty of time, and also you need a decent budget. And in my experience, and I'm sure that you'll agree with me on this, is you never have all 3. So we're never usually short on fantastic creative ideas. And, there's usually a challenge around budgets. You're trying to deliver the most amazing, spectacular experience on a shoestring. And usually we manage to do that. But also the other contributing factor is, not having enough time. So I think, look at those 3 things. So time, money, and ideas. I think that's important. And, and trust that you'll only ever have 2, and you can still deliver an amazing event. The other thing is, make lists. I think, everyone who works in events is usually a list maker. I'm a list maker. I'm a list maker in my personal life. And so I think it's important to make a list. Actually try and enjoy your event. Well, I wish I'd done different, is actually kind of try and enjoy what I've done a lot more, because I was so focused on the detail. I was so focused on making sure everything's right, making sure everyone else is okay, that actually I very rarely kind of took a step back and go, actually, this is amazing. I mean, there have been incredible moments, being in the Royal Albert Hall, moving to Borough Street Car Park, all those different experiences, and seeing audience reaction is always a favorite when you open a show space and, people walk in and they go, oh, wow, this is amazing. So when you do run your own events, I think, try and enjoy it as much as you can.
I think those are 3 big pearls of wisdom that you've shared with the audience. And I just want to close off by saying thank you so much for sharing your tips, and actually showing, that the sort of really nitty-gritty bits of the production process that we've experienced together, because sometimes we can forget, just like you said. So thank you very much, Josef, for your time today. If you have any parting comments, please let us know.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you. We have been working recently again together on a corporate project with a branded item, so that's really exciting. And so yeah, I think it's been wonderful to chat to you, Smruti, and it's really great to be in touch again. And I look forward to working with you more.
Absolutely, perfect. Thank you.